We love Miami, and we love Los Angeles. We also love New York City, which is my hometown originally. And that's why it gives me really great pleasure to introduce an exceptional leader, a political leader, a leader in transit and mobility, who runs the New York City Department of Transportation. Please join me in welcoming my good friend Ydanis Rodriguez. Here, Ydanis.
Gracias, John. Thank you. Yes, I'm the first non-native English-speaking commissioner in New York City. As also the first Latino commissioner. And by the way, the other person of color only hold the job for a few months. But New York City is a place as Miami, or people come from all over the world. So we are not unique. So I've been learning a lot from my Irish, Jewish, Italian, Afro-American, Asian descent, as I do with the Latinos. So we have a big responsibility. We learn a lot from Maria, from Katrina, from Kobe, from Ida, that we have to save the planet. And that's why we are so committed to use everything in our power on technology to celebrate, the good practice, to learn from each other. At the same time, that New York City, a city that has learned a lot from the past, now is also being the forefront when it came to a lot of work that we have done. I'm going to be sharing a little bit on what we do in New York City. Thank you, John, and also I'd like to extend my thank you to Q, Kemuel Arroyo, who introduced me to John, and Magdo, great friend, and I'm here also with my Deputy Commissioner, Polo Choa, who also spoke this morning, and part of the leadership that I have, together with Margaret Fujoni and Ryan Lynch, leading an agency of almost 6,000 men and women in New York City, responsible to lead the largest transportation system in the whole nation. Again, thank you for organizing this amazing conference. It is nice to be here after having a cold April in New York City, in the great and beautiful city of Miami, made by so many working class and middle class residents. Thanks to Mayor Eric Adams, I have been a commissioner since January 2022. But previous to that, I was a council member for 12 years, from 2009 to 2021. And during those years, I was a member of the Transportation Committee. The last 8 years, I was the chairman of the Transportation Committee. So many of the law that now I had to implement, from a street master plan to reducing a speed limit to 25 miles per hour, to Vision Zero, there was law that I was prime or co-prime. And now it is my responsibility to implement those laws under the leadership of Mayor Eric Adams, myself, and the great team of men and women at DOT. What we have seen in the nation is that a trend of reckless drivers that have been contributing so much to the numbers of pedestrians and cyclists losing their life in crashes. New York City, however, is leading when it comes to the reductions of death of pedestrians and cyclists since 2013. You were hearing the news about the numbers, Vision Zero is not working, but it's because all the numbers are together. It's like this driver who was speeding 3 days ago, the same day where we had the largest bike tour in the city of New York, in the nation, and the second large in the whole world, led by Back New York, TD Bank, and DOT. That morning there was a crash where 3 people lost their life. But that was a single driver who is still on investigation, but it looked like he was drunk and he was speeding. So there's a lot of crashes that is happening by motorists, but when it comes to pedestrians, New York City has one of the lowest numbers of pedestrians and cyclists losing their life in our street. Our work is far from complete, but it is already paying off. My time today is brief, and so I want to focus on some of the major priorities that we have set for agency. Again, the largest municipality transportation system in the country. And as I said at the beginning, at 55 Water Street, where I lead this agency, in the 80s, I was doing sandwiches in that cafeteria. So I represent the dream of Americans from Miami to New York City that came here from Cuba, from Venezuela, from other places, from Ukraine and Asia. But when we had that opportunity, we move on and we become people who play leadership roles. So that's the history of many individuals, and that's a great opportunity that I have in New York City. One of the things that you will see today is that I want to especially focus on DOT efforts to reimagine the use of public spaces. And for us, equity is more than one word. Equity is how we connect community. Equity is how we connect the working class, the middle class community to the good and motor transportation. And that includes also biking. That includes also walking. That's part of people moving in any particular city. New York City has a great and creative toolbox that I want to share with you today. We learned from other cities in the past, but as I said before, other city now is looking at New York City. In 2009, we put together the street design manual. And all those photos that we used were photos about cities that we wanted to look like. Last year, we did an exhibition at Photo University. And all the photos that we used were photos of things that we've been doing in New York City that other cities now are looking at us. However, we've been learning from each other, and that's what we will continue doing. And technology is a key piece for us to continue being connected. First, I want to share with you OpenStreet. New York City is a New York City landmark program that has been a national, international model where we are prioritizing pedestrian over cars. The approach came out as a need of public space during COVID, but the use of public space is not new. That happened on the Janet, on the Michael Bloomberg, when Times Square, as you go right now, they used to be only for cars. And now no one thinks how Broadway 44 and 46 is used mainly for pedestrians, especially for 50 million tourists that went to New York City last year. But COVID again gave a big lesson and pushed the city. And this administration, led by Adams and I, we embrace what all New Yorkers and visitors have been asking, reclaiming the use of public space. I would like to provide a quick overview of a different kind of OpenStreet. We have OpenStreet that limit access and prioritize pedestrians and cyclists, but allow vehicles to enter if they drive very slow. We have to share the street. We are not saying no to vehicles. What we are saying is the street doesn't belong only to people that have cars. Next, I would like to show you the sample of a full closure where we see the most programming done by our partners. This is about music, it's about yoga, it's about danza, merengue, quebradita, hip hop, or other type of a celebration that we do in our street. Sometimes they are around in schools, which, as you can see, the student, the youth, they use. Not only for those who believe that teaching happens when they go and teach the student, but when they learn together, when they use the public space as a resource to learn about pattern, to learn about bio, to learn about science, when they learn together in our street. Under this program, public space is also used for programming where we celebrate our cultural diversity. This is the beauty of not only New York City, this is the beauty of Miami, right? This is the beauty of Florida, this is the beauty of LA. This is what makes our country so unique. We come from different places. And unless you are a Native American, at some point in your life, our family came from different places. So we are so committed to use our street to celebrate the different culture of the city of New York. And now, On the major items, we are transitioning to make many of these temporary open street permanent. One sample is 34th Avenue in Queens that became a national model. We turned 2 miles of a street in New York City that was used only for cars as a model citywide, nationwide, that we transformed and is used for pedestrians, for cyclists, to use for any local group that want also to use the space for the celebrating the culture, and still continue giving the space for someone that has a need to have a disability, a vehicle with accessibility to also go through a fire truck or police a vehicle too. This open streets, again, is a role model that we are looking to continue learning from that. We can see from this New York City map how also we are focused on investment. Most of us have been in New York City. So this is the map of the city of New York. And this is about equity. In the past, a lot of the investment happened in Midtown. When City Bike came to New York City, it was mainly something from Battery Park to 42nd Street to 59th Street. It was adding an amenity to those who went to work in Google and Facebook to have an additional motor transportation. What we have learned on the COVID is that we could do a phase 3 of City Bike, expanding City Bike to Uptown Manhattan, to the South Bronx, to the working class community, to make City Bike accessible also not only to middle class, but in $186 a year and a big discount for the natural resident to make it also accessible to working class and middle class New Yorkers. So this map, again, will continue showing what is the future, the present and the future in New York City. We are more than downtown Manhattan, Long Island City, and downtown Brooklyn. We are communities that are composed by many different groups, and many of them, 30% of New Yorkers, they live in underserved community, and they also need to have connected with City Bike, bike share, a scooter, and other micromobility. So that's how we are planning. But open street isn't just a nice amenity to have. It has served as economic lifeline for businesses. Open restaurant is something that New York City is also leading. During COVID, we had 12,000 open restaurants. We did a study together with the Bloomberg team and us. We found out that when we had the open restaurant on those open streets, there was an 18% increase of selling, compared to 29% decrease in those areas that they didn't have open restaurant or that they have open street. So economically, it's also showing that the open restaurant not only we have 12,000 open restaurants, we create 100,000 jobs, but also that's good for the business, as also it was good for the community. It was the first time where working class community were able to have a space who had to sit in the South Bronx, in places in Brooklyn, because 80% of the open restaurant, what used to be called sidewalk, was mainly in downtown Manhattan, Long Island City, and Brooklyn. So COVID also teaches us a lesson that we can expand. And right now we are working with the council to make this program permanent. Last year, a 13-year-old Summer Street program. Also, it was held in August in Park Avenue from Brooklyn Bridge to 79th Street. That's how it was run up to 2021. In 2022, Mayor Adams said, let's go to the underserved community. And we went to 109 and Lexington and Park Avenue last year. Stay tuned to those of you who is going to be visiting New York City, because in 2023, we will have the largest summer street that New Yorkers and visitors have been able experience in their life. So this is something that very soon we're going to be also sharing some details on how far we're going to be going on our summer street. In the same car-free spirit, New York City around holiday last year was amazing. We created the Holiday Street in the iconic Fifth Avenue. You have been at Fifth Avenue. You know that Fifth Avenue during Christmas time, you didn't have space to walk. In 2022, we closed Fifth Avenue from 42nd to 57th Street. What we saw after the 3 Saturday, was that there was a 29% of sale in that corridor. So right now, Mayor Ydanis, stakeholders, including the Fifth Avenue bid and other, now we are sitting, thinking about how we can reimagine Fifth Avenue from 42nd to 59th Street, focusing more on giving more space to pedestrians to walk. And on Halloween, we even turned Open Street into for the first time, trick or treat. We some kids say, let's get a 25% or more candy from previous year. So there was a lot of kids in the street that they didn't have it before. So those are the things that we are doing there. We have other success stories where equity and access are playing a key role. Everyone loves Earth Day. April 22nd is when we celebrate worldwide our mother land, Mother Earth. But in 2017, I came out with this idea of celebrating the Car-Free Day. I was able to close as a council member Broadway from Union Square to 23rd, Washington Heights 2 block where I used to have my office. But now in 2022, we did Car-Free Day at Broadway from Union Square to Times Square, Washington Heights, San Nicolas Avenue from 181st to 190. We closed street in Staten Island, in Brooklyn, in Queens, and the Bronx for the first time, opening the street for cultural celebration. We are also continuing to creatively look at underutilized local street that can be turned into pedestrian plaza. We are creating more than 80 of them in the last 15 years. The first one being in that little plaza known as Times Square. But that's the future of New York City. We are looking over and over how we can turn a street as open street. Last year, we learned from COVID that we have hundreds of open street, but open street on the COVID was more a barricade that we were closing the block. In 2022, we closed 200 open street. All of them, they have a business improvement district or they have a CBOs as a partner. And they were responsible to organize cultural, entertainment, educational activities. And those who didn't have the resources, DOT provide $20,000 each to help with the programming in those communities. So we will also continue looking at open street as a pipeline. Mayor Adam took 4 of those open street and he turned open street he started putting the resources so that we also can turn some of the open street as permanent plaza. In Clinton Hill in Brooklyn, we can see one of our creative transformation. Here is before we install the pedestrian plaza, and then you will see also now how this plaza became after. So this is how we are trying to take New Yorkers and visitors, how we are reimagining the use of our public space. I want to conclude with a call for action to everyone to take the lesson that we learned worldwide during this pandemic of COVID and reprioritize our public space and share our street. To open our space and fill them with programming. Because if we can do this in the nation's densest city, a city where we only composed by 350 square miles of 8.6 million people, last year close to 50 million visitors, then we can do it everywhere in the globe. Quiero dar las gracias a todos por permitirme estar aquí y compartir lo que estamos haciendo en la ciudad de Nueva York, reimaginándonos los usos de los espacios públicos. Thank you.